Who is the most overrated comedian? I loved Pete Davidson on the Comedy Central roasts, but his special on Netflix was kind of the same for Ken Jeong. Fun character in Community, but stand-up is lacking in actual jokes. Ellen. She just makes fun of people and then laughs. This thread is like 90 just comedians nobody likes. Amy Schumer isn't overrated. Everyone already hates her. Lol, nobody seems to understand the term overrated and instead are just naming comedians that are generally polarizing or disliked. Benito Mussolini. Just never found him funny. That fucking puppet guy. Honestly, Pete Davidson or Kevin Hart. Andy Dick. I never understood how he got so famous. Steve Harvey. How the hell did he become so successful being entirely unfunny? Tyler Perry. Bill Cosby. While once known as a comic genius, he's not so funny anymore, especially when you look at his jokes. For example, why beat your wife? Currently Brendan Schaub's 200. Be not fair to call him a comedian really, insults real comedians. Pete Davidson. Kevin Hart for sure. Leslie Jones. Why was she on SNL? The only character she could portray is Leslie Jones. Jimmy Fallon. How is Larry the Cable Guy not higher up? Dude is one of the best-selling comedians of all time and he never wrote a single joke. Carlos Mencia. Dude stole a bunch of jokes and vanished. Howie Mandel, but maybe I just don't like prop humor. Joe Rogan fancies himself a comedian. Is Jay Leno still considered to be a comedian? Dane Cook, hands down the most overrated ever. Probably Joe Coy. I don't know, as a Filipino in the Philippines, most of his content just feels like an excuse to shit on our accents. I don't really like humor that kind of reaffirms that I'm laughable just because of something I grew up with. Even at the height of his career, I've found Cat Williams annoying as all hell. The pimp jokes only work so many times. Jerry Seinfeld. He'd be nothing without Larry David. Howard Stern. Seinfeld. He clearly wanted to be George Carlin, observational funny but lacked the intelligence and wit. His routines are pedantic and predictable. I've seen him maybe 4 times since the 1980s and in each case wanted to leave within 15 minutes. He thinks he's clever with his wordplay but it's pretty shallow. You get into the car but on the plane. Does he belong on the comedy Mount Rushmore? Probably due to pure revenue, but his material will not be studied by up-and-coming comedians like it is with Carlin, Cosby, Pryor, Williams or Chappelle. As for the revenue, thank Larry David. That is the real voice of that show and every character. Kevin Hart. Dude just fucking screams. Bill Maher. If you scroll down long enough you will find your favorite comedian listed somewhere down there. Mike Bullard, Canadian goof who is huge and never funny. Trevor Noah is probably the least funny for me. But I dunno, they're all pretty good in their niche, so can't think of one that is super overrated. Nigel Ling. Uncle Roger. He just acts a fake Asian accent. He just keeps the character going just for the views. Michael McIntyre is absolute garbage. Pete Davidson. Russell Kane and John Bishop. Both British comedians. Both incredibly unfunny. Kevin Hart. Jay Leno. Entirely unfunny. Ridiculous but unamusing. Dennis Leary, for his total theft of Bill Hicks. Bert Kreischer. I've tried to like him but I think he's a bit hacky. Put a shirt on. Jerry Seinfeld. Not funny at all. He also weirdly gets a free pass for dating a 17-year-old when he was 38. Pete Davidson. That guy is painfully unfunny. Who's the fucking puppet guy? Jeff Dunham? Get the fuck out of here. Andrew Dice Clay. Bill Cosby. Aziz Ansari. Dane Cook. Jim Breuer. It seems like most of his act is strutting around the stage while making weird noises and faces. Andrew Tate. Larry the Cable Guy. Amy Schumer. Kevin Hart. No mention of Carrot Top. God. It's no longer funny. Pete Davidson. I'm expecting to look crazy, but Will Ferrell. And Elf wasn't particularly great either. You guys are seriously listing Schumer, Dunham, and Mencia? Who overrates them? Everyone dislikes them. What low-hanging fruit? My choice is James Acaster. Just because I agree with your points or worldview doesn't mean you're being funny. Tracy Morgan. Dane Cook. Kathy Griffin. Jerry Seinfeld seems like a jerk in real life. He was also the least funny of the 4 leads on Seinfeld. Pete Davidson. Seinfeld. Kevin Hart. Like he's funny but he is not record-breaking funny. He has multiple specials that are in the list of top-grossing comedy specials of all time and literally none of them deserve to be on that list. Trevor Noah. David Letterman. Jerry Seinfeld. Does Corden count? George Carlin. Just kidding. Jimmy Kimmel or Kevin Hart. Amy Schumer is not funny, and steals jokes. Honestly, I don't find Sarah Silverman funny for similar reasons. Saying gross dick stuff as a chick doesn't automatically make you funny. I'm sorry. Trevor Noah. Papoose. Gabriel Iglesias Fluffy never found him funny at all. He is only known for Cars now, which is fine by me because Jay Leno is about as funny as a colonoscopy. Gallagher. Jeff Foxworthy. Seth Rogen. Sebastian Maniscalco is going to be the next Dane Cook. That cunt Ellen. Jimmy Kimmel. Myself. Rebel Wilson. I'm gonna have to go out on a limb here and call out Carrot Top. I've only been able to stomach very brief skits and haven't had even the slightest beginnings of a chuckle. As a stand-up comedian and nothing to do with his show, which I like and watched when it was on, Jerry Seinfeld. The best imitation was a guy in whiteface introducing the Apollo show as Jerry Seinfeld after SNL. It's about a minute long and is hysterical. Bill Maher. He's a boomer with a boomer attitude. Thinks he knows better. He doesn't respect opinions of younger people. Andrew Dice Clay picks on underdogs. Just like the GOAT George Carlin said Dave Chappelle. The link above for Dice Clay is relevant for Chappelle, too. Chappelle used to be funny. Now he's pandering to frat boys who try to be anti-PC, but are really just coming off as picking on easy targets to stir up controversy. Beyond that, he doesn't make me laugh anymore. He just lectures for an hour about why his opinion is right. Dave Chappelle. Nothing to do with his current material at all. I just found that after the first few specials that he was more about explaining funny black shit to white people, and as a black guy I never really cared. I like some of the skits and the show is interesting, but his stand-up is not for me and more hit and miss. And at times the race jokes feel forced. Sebastian Maniscalco. Dude behaves like he's had too much caffeine and I cannot handle the sound of his voice, let alone the fact he isn't funny. Jerry Seinfeld. Beside anything from the show, name one joke he's widely known for. He's a great writer and his shows are great, but not anywhere in the league of Carlin, Pryor, etc. Jerry Seinfeld. 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 Have to go with Rojokin. He sells out huge venues, tours with the top comedians, and when he left LA, multiple comedians followed, and LA was labeled by some as dead. Yet he has really never told a solid funny joke.